What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made this. Beautiful, delicious, smoky, medium rare, juicy, amazing reverse seared picanha on the pellet grill. Coming up. This is some meat. Pat it dry. And what I got here is a picanha. I found this in my freezer the other day, and I really wanted to cook it because I love a good picanha. And it's been a while since I cooked one up, but it's definitely top 3 favorite steaks. I mean, what's not to like? Beautiful beefy flavor, tender meat, nice fat cap on top, and there's several ways you can cook it. First, you could cut this against the grain and then put it on a skewer. That would be the Brazilian style, the churrasco style, which is a really great method. I did a whole video on that one time, and I was blown away by how good it was. Option number 2 would be to cut this into steaks with the grain and then just cook it up like a New York strip or something like that. That's how I usually go about eating a picanha. And then there's option 3, which is what we're gonna do today, well, tomorrow, which is just to cook it whole, kind of like a prime rib, you know, one big piece of meat, slice it nice and thin or thick, if that's your style. It really does make for a great roast. We're gonna cook it like a roast, but it's gonna eat a lot more like a steak or a prime rib or something along those lines. And taking a look at this thing, it's pretty nice and clean already on the backside, no silver skin or anything like that. You know, this little piece right here, this little vein. Suppose we could take that out if we wanted to. There we go. Clean it up a little bit. And on the top side, not the best looking fat cap I've ever seen. Got some bald spots over here, and there, but that is okay. And honestly, I'm kind of glad that there's not a super tall fat cap on these, because I've cooked these in the past, on this channel in fact, where they've got a really thick fat cap on top. And I've always been nervous to trim them down because I think Gugu would probably yell at me if I did that. And the fat on top really is some of the best part of the picanha, but doesn't look the best on camera, and for the more squeamish folks in the audience, too much fat can be a problem. But this one doesn't look too tall, looks pretty good, so I'm just gonna kind of give it a once over, may round off some of these really thin edges over here just so they don't burn up on us, but really nothing to do here. It is a little tall in the middle. Kind of want to take it down just like a millimeter. Nothing crazy here, just to make it look a little more smooth. There, that's looking a little better. But really not much else to do to this thing. It looks really good already, so all we gotta do is season this thing up. And as you probably guessed by the lighting, we are in fact gonna dry brine this thing using some Diamond Crystal Kosher salt, which you can get on our website if you can't get it locally in your area. My favorite salt of choice. So we're just gonna go down with a pretty nice heavy coating of some kosher salt all over this thing. Again, if you're using table salt or Morton salt, you may want to do a little bit less than what you see me doing here, but this Diamond Crystal stuff is a little bit more forgiving. Flip it over, and we'll do the top side as well. And we're gonna do our best to not forget the sides, although it's kind of like sloped down, so it's kind of hard to miss the sides. So no rookie moves here, folks. Beautiful. And now onto a wire rack on a sheet tray we go. But as far as the dry brine goes, just a couple hours is really all you need. Overnight is great, 24 hours, probably up to 48, you're still safe. So this way we'll have salt penetrated all the way through, so every bite is perfectly seasoned, and it'll dry out the exterior, which will help smoke it here, as well as give us a nice crust. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. In the barbecue world, there's a lot of late nights and early mornings, so getting a good night's sleep is of the utmost importance. And I've been getting the best sleep of my life lately, thanks to the sponsor of this week's video, Helix Sleep. Helix Sleep makes premium quality mattresses and bedding, customized to fit your needs, conveniently shipped right to your door. Simply head to their website, fill out your basic information and sleeping preferences, and you'll be matched with the perfect mattress for you. The Helix lineup offers 20 unique mattresses, and they just came out with a whole new line of premium mattress toppers. There's the Dual Comfort mattress topper for couples with different sleeping preferences, the Ergo line for those with lower back pain, the Premium mattress topper for those looking for added pressure relief at their hips and shoulders, and they also make a memory foam version of that one as well. And now that springtime is finally here, I've been spending a lot of time working on my spring cleaning. Did you know that dust mites, mold, and other allergens can be found in old mattresses and often triggers allergies, asthma, and other respiratory issues? And one of the best ways to ensure your sleep space is as fresh as possible is by upgrading your mattress. And now is a great time to do it. You know, I've had my Helix mattress for a number of years at this point, and I can honestly tell you it's one of the best mattresses I've ever had. I've convinced a lot of my friends and family to get one as well, and I've heard nothing but great reviews. And since getting it, I've never slept better, I have way less back pain, I'm sleeping through the night, but probably the best part is how convenient it is to get a new mattress. Because it comes in a reasonably sized box that makes getting a mattress up a flight of stairs a lot easier. Then you simply unroll it, pop the vac seal, and watch it come back to life. It really takes a lot of hassle out of getting a really comfortable king-size bed to your bedroom. I love my Helix, and I know you will too. So if you're in the market for a new bed, click my link in the description box of this video taking you to helixsleep.com, where using my link you can save 20% off site-wide. Again, link in the description, that's helixsleep.com/Chuds BBQ, where you can save 20% site-wide. Thank you, Helix. One dry brine later. Out of the fridge we come, and this thing is looking absolutely beautiful. Loving that nice dark red color, and there's no visible salt, which means it all went into the meat, which is exactly what we wanted. And taking a look at it, there's no moisture in the bottom of this pan either, which is a good thing. Feeling a little more tight as well. But I do want to add some more seasoning to this, which again, may be frowned upon if you're trying to make a traditional Brazilian picanha, but I don't think traditional Brazilian picanha is made on a pellet grill. So I'm going to add some more stuff, including some freshly cracked black pepper. But because it's dry brined, and it is in fact quite dry, I'm going to go down with a little bit of Wagyu beef tallow. Not too much, just to make sure all the pepper sticks. Give it a nice rub down. Don't want this thing too wet because then the pepper will just drip off. But a nice sheen like that till it's nice and tacky is exactly what we're after. I'm gonna go ahead and do the top side as well while I'm here. And then we're gonna bust out our pepper cannon and do some fresh cracked black pepper, as much or as little as you see fit. Love this thing. And you know what, while I'm here, we'll go in with a little granulated garlic as well. I love a good SPG steak. Pat that in, flip it over, and we'll do the top side. Beautiful. Looking good to me. And the main reason I wanted to make this video is, one, I'm really liking these really quick, easy, simple videos, as opposed to the deep dive, super complex stuff. Two, I really wanted to eat a picanha because it's been a while. And three, we're gonna test out the full capabilities of this pellet grill, because one of the main reasons I really like this Yoder is because it's perfectly designed for the reverse sear, meaning we can bring it up low and slow with some smoke, then remove the baffle plate, and grill it off, sear it off at the same time, which is very convenient. So let's go ahead and fire up the pit. Boop. Now, so far on the pellet grill series, I've been using this guy, the old RFX from Thermalworks, quite a bit. And that's one, because it's really convenient to know exactly what your meat is doing. And yeah, this thing does have probe capabilities, but this is just smaller. I think it's a little more accurate, has better range, and I don't have to have wires going everywhere, so that's why I like using this bad boy. But the main reason I've been using it is not because I really want to keep an eye on the temp, because, you know, I can just probe it with a thermopen for that. It's because whenever you open the lid on a pellet grill during a cook, it sends a bunch of cold air right into the sensor, and it immediately dumps a whole bunch of pellets, which inevitably leads to a spike in temperature and goes all over the place. So if you're looking, you ain't cooking is pretty important on a pellet grill in my anecdotal experience thus far. And especially with a cut like this that I really don't want to overcook, I want to know what's going on inside. So I'm going to pop this bad boy in there. And in my last steak video where I did a tomahawk, I used this thing as well to keep an eye on internal temp. And I complained a lot about the hole that goes through the meat. And you can see it when you're slicing. And a lot of comments said, if I put this going in the direction we're cutting, then you'll only have one slice, maybe two with the hole in it. And it'll be going in the direction you're slicing. So we're going to try that out today. So the grain on this bad boy is going this way, which means we're going to be slicing like this. So that means I need to go in like this way. Smack dab in the middle. So that means all of these slices and all of these slices won't have the hole in it, which is something I probably should have figured out on my own. But on the pit, same placement as usual, right in this general vicinity. And this is still heating up, so we should get a little extra smoke on there while it comes up to temp. So the game plan for this cook is right now I've got that pit set at 180 degrees, which is more like 225 on that top rack. So I'm gonna keep an eye on the internal temp of that piece of meat, and once it comes up to probably around 118 degrees or so, we'll pull it off, let it carry over, crank that pit up, and get it set up for grilling. But right now, we're just gonna let it smoke away and gradually come up to temp. On a beautiful evening, if I do say so. And while we wait, let's go ahead and bust out a quick creamy horseradish Dijon sauce. Starting by going into this little container with about half a cup of sour cream, 3 tablespoons of mayonnaise, I'm going with Kewpie, a couple tablespoons of some prepared horseradish, a healthy shot of some Dijon, a splash of apple cider vinegar, pinch of salt, and some freshly cracked black pepper, and some fresh chives that I grew in my kitchen. And just get that all nice and mixed up. Be sure to taste and adjust. For me, I'm going to add a little more apple cider vinegar, another big pinch of salt, and some more black pepper. And of course, dial this into your own personal taste, because that horseradish is some powerful stuff. And just like that, our lovely sauce is done. 1 hour later, maybe an hour 15, this thing has come up to about 118, 120 internal, and looking pretty good. Definitely nice and red, so hopefully we've got some good smoke flavor on it. And it was cooking around 250 according to my external thermometer on the lid there for most of this cook, which is good, pretty low and slow still. And it took about an hour to get up to temp, so hopefully we got some even cooking on this thing, but I guess we'll find out if it's got bottom heat or top heat when we slice into it. But for now, I'm gonna pull it off to rest. And now we're gonna get this thing set up for grilling. So top rack comes out. Got these thick grill grates in there, which should hold some nice heat, but we're gonna go ahead and slide these over. That way we can expose the fire pot. set it aside over there. There's a good look at the inside, burning away. And now I can put my grill grates back in, and these do have two sides. They got the grill mark side, but I'm not a big fan of grill marks. So we're just gonna keep these flat side up. Kind of like the Chud grill. This way we get a flat top sear, but we still get all that wood flavor and smoke coming up through. And now I'm gonna crank this bad boy up to 450 degrees and let it get hot. So it's been about 20 minutes since I cranked up the temps on that pit, which has given this steak here plenty of time to carry over and rest down, relax its muscles a little bit. But also, it's been a while since I grilled on this thing, but I have left those grates in there for most of my cooks, and they were pretty filthy. So there was a pretty good fire while all the creosote and grease was burning off of those things. But they're looking pretty clean right now. So now we're gonna sear this bad boy off. Temps on these grates is rocking around 600, 650. So I'm gonna go down with a little bit more Wagyu beef tallow. Ooh, smoky. And then on we go with our beautiful picanha. Ooh, that's a nice sizzle. Should not take long with these temps. Don't forget the sides. We gotta be real careful on that fat cap because that's probably gonna start dripping and flaring up a bit. Lovely color on that though. Ooh. A lot of firepower under there. Makes me a little more comfortable using these bad boys than something like that. Little crispy, but I'm okay with it. And just like that, after a couple of minutes, doesn't take long, build up some beautiful color, nice crust, so off this comes. And for a quick little side dish, I'm gonna throw on my made-in grill pan here. Let that heat up for a sec. And then we go with some broccoli. That is some broccoli that I just steamed off, so it's fully cooked already. Tossed it with a little bit of olive oil, threw in a pinch of red chili flakes and salt, and now we're just gonna get a little bit more wood flavor on it. Because that sounds good to me. And this right here is why I always wanted a Yoder, is because you don't need a gas grill anymore. And just like that, in no time at all, got some nice charring on there, so off these come. And now, at long last, it is time to slice this thing up. And yeah, I definitely hammered that top a little bit. Which is funny, because I'm pretty sure the last time I did this, which was in the Weber Kettle series, I scorched the fat cap as well. But, that's what happens when you're filming yourself trying to sear a fat cap. But, regardless, I don't think it's too far gone. Again, we're looking at the grain structure running in this direction, so we're going to be cutting this away. Probably starting on this end. So let's get a few slices and see how we did. I'm going for some relatively thin slices today. But looking at the inside, ooh, that's looking incredibly juicy. Not much of a render on that fat cap, which is to be expected for a 1-hour smoke followed by a direct sear, but that is looking perfect to me. Glistening in the light. Bark? Question mark? Underside look good, beautiful sear on that. Pretty good edge to edge too, we definitely got a little bit of gray band on there, but you can also see a bit of a smoke ring right there, which is pretty cool, but to me that is a sight of beauty right there. And looks just incredibly tender and moist. Yep, happy about that. Smells fantastic. And there it is, all sliced up, folks. A beautiful, juicy, smoky looking medium rare reverse seared picanha on the pellet grill with a little horseradish cream sauce and of course some fire roasted broccoli. I'm ready to dive right on in. Not much to complain about here, folks. Let's go ahead and see how it came out, shall we? Bottoms up. Oh, yep. I mean, come on. It's a beautiful medium rare smoky picanha. Of course it's going to be good, but that is fantastic. Salt level is perfect. Fat cap is rendered nicely, although it doesn't look like it, but that's kind of the magic of a picanha, is even when you do leave a huge fat cap on it, it's kind of the best part. Nope. So beefy, so meaty. I'm gonna eat a lot of that. Tell you one thing, so juicy too. I love picanha. Picanha, make way. I'm so glad that picanhas are easier to find, because I remember when Guga first started talking about them, like, I don't know, 10 years ago. I couldn't find them around here, but now they're pretty easy to find, and like I said, top 3 favorite cuts for sure. I could eat that every day. But let's see how it came out with this little dippy sauce, shall we? Oh yeah. That is so good. Just adds that little bit of zip, a little bit of brightness, a little bit of that horseradish heat in the background. Lovely combination. Although I really am leaning into the whole prime rib aspect with this sauce, because this is mostly served with prime rib. Spoiler alert, goes great with a nice slab of picanha as well. Oh my God. Yep, that's fantastic. Well, I guess the cops are on their way, because I'm about to eat some broccoli. My only complaint is that these toward the end cuts are definitely a little more well done, but that's to be expected because they're a lot thinner. But I guess if you wanted to avoid that, you could either sous vide this steak or drop the temps down even lower. I'm also okay with it, kind of like a tri-tip, you know? If you cook one of these for your family, there's a little bit for everybody. Definitely keeping this sauce recipe around because that is fantastic. Brooke.
Yeah.
Would you like to try some medium rare picanha?
Sure.
Sure.
I mean, okay, full disclaimer. I don't know if picanha is my favorite cut.
Let me know what you think. There's an array of donenesses splayed for you.
Yeah.
And fat levels.
What's this?
That's a horseradish cream sauce.
Horsing rad. Oh, tender though. Okay. Good.
For me, it's kind of the in-between filet and a ribeye or a New York strip or something like that. Because it's tender and it's juicy, but other than the fat cap, it's not super fatty, like intramuscularly.
Yeah.
Because it's more of a sirloin cut.
Yeah, you know I like a tenderloin.
I wonder if I'm going to get in trouble for dipping picanha into horseradish cream sauce. Guess we'll find
Really
out.
good.
It's very good.
Did you char that brock?
I did.
Are these our homegrown Chives?
Yep. Homegrown chives grown right on the other side of that wall. Super convenient.
It's really good.
I like the flavor of it. How's the seasoning on that meat?
Really good.
To be honest.
Did you use SPG?
No, I just salted it. Well, I did use SPG, yeah. But I dry brined it. And to be honest with you, I've been using the Chuds BBQ steak rub so much lately that I was nervous that I would miss the seasoning, but still got it.
Oh. This is hitting the spot for sure.
Dip. All right, well, I'm going to eat probably the rest of this.
Yeah, well, I want this piece.
Funny thing about it is I completely forgot that this is a Pellet Grill series video entirely. Like, this is just a steak video at this point. But like I said, that machine is built for doing reverse sears, and it does a great job. But with this very last bite of picanha, I think it's time for the official taste test. Woo! All right, y'all, and that is it. Taught us how to make an absolutely fantastic smoky reverse seared picanha on a pellet grill. I highly recommend giving this one a try. You know, it's not very often these days that I'll pull out all the stops of the dry brine and the low and slow smoke followed by a hot sear to make a delicious steak. And that's just because it's kind of a hassle, but with the pellet grill, it's made super easy, very little guessing work, could not be more convenient, and definitely something I'll be doing again very soon. But all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you do give this recipe a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. I'd love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud and allowing me to keep making all these videos. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace!